This is a short presentation about visual representations of your argument. I'm going to talk about various kinds of visual representations, including graphics, but also dramatizations. We're going to start by thinking about turning your information or your argument into an image. An image stands still, but it can also distill, that is, boil down or condense, and then communicate information. That's one of the great advantages of infographics, that they take complex information which in text form would be tedious and hard to assemble into a whole picture in your mind, but in an infographic you can condense it so that it's visually present. Here's an example of an infographic that my colleague Jason Pickavance made using a tool called Pictochart. I'm going to show you another couple of these in a little while. Pictochart allows you to compose informational graphics, and it's free. So as you can see, he used a basic two-part structure to represent his argument, including pros and cons, and images that help him and then you put together a total sense of what the infographic is about. There are also infographics that compile images and add them together, and I'm going to show you one by Robert Horn that's extremely complex that contains a great deal of information. This is a little screen capture of a website that has Robert Horn's Struggle of Narratives as a series of infographics. On this website, Horn has an overall summary of his argument. You can see that he summarizes the basic pieces of the argument. He turns this summary into several infographics, of which I'm going to show a few. One is this image for what he sees as the consequences of globalization. The next one represents his argument about the clash of narratives and worldviews. Now let me pause to say that I'm not endorsing this argument. I'm just showing you how he represented it. Here's another one where he adds a bunch of text to one of the images to show the contrast. And then here's one more graphic where he brings a bunch of these images together along with text just to show the complexity of his argument. And again, I'm not saying that I think his argument is correct, but I do think it's an interesting graphic representation of an argument. Now I'd like to show you a couple of tools that I think you'll enjoy knowing about, and they are free. One is Infogram. It allows you to make interactive graphics. Now here's another little screen capture. This one is Infogram's gallery of infographics. I'm scrolling through them in a way that I will hopefully not induce nausea on your part. And I want to show you this one, this particular one, an infographic that's interactive about women and political decision making in India. By clicking on any one of those categories of leadership at the top, you can see how many women per 100 in India are involved in that particular category or role of decision making. You can move through all the different categories. Obviously, this infographic is making a point that women are profoundly unrepresented or underrepresentative in all of these categories in India. But it's done through an interactive graphic that visually demonstrates that point. The next free tool is Pictochart. I showed you one of these before, and here are a couple of more. Pictocharts are not interactive, they're static, but they allow you to design information in a way that can be interesting and useful. This is also their gallery of user infographics. I wanted to show you a couple of these. This one, here we go, is the demonstrates the rich-poor gap, and it synthesizes a bunch of information on several demographic categories. Overall, it wants to show the gap between rich and poor between 1995 and 2012 and how that's changed. Here's another one about human trafficking. It takes information largely from the United Nations statistics about human trafficking throughout the world, and it represents that information in ways that make it visually understandable and apparent. I know some of you have already played around with text-to-animation software like GoAnimate. Here's a video that a philosophy professor made about the reversal argument from Descartes. These two are discussing the argument among themselves.
Monsieur Descartes. I am well, Mr. Moore. But of course, we cannot really know anything on the basis of sense experience. Now, can we? Yes, we can. I know that I am standing here right now. No, you don't. Yes, I do. No.
If you want to look at the argument more closely, you can follow the link I provide. One of your assignments is to turn part of your argument into a visual representation. You can choose any method that you would like to, but I'd like to see you give one of these tools a whirl, or any other multimedia visual tool that you would like. See what you can come up with that might transform some part of your argument into another medium, or that might also enrich your text-based argument.